My next big Kill Team release will be the Gallowfall. And in this video, I want to tell you what I think it's going to be, or at least what I hope it's going to be. So this season, I guess you'd call it a season, of Kill Team is Into the Dark, where it's a whole series of releases that all take place on the Gallowdark. So each of these sets have had a new rulebook, 2 new kill teams, one of them being an upgrade sprue and the other being completely original, and then a new set of terrain that looks like you're basically in a 40k space station. So it's what's called a Space Hulk. And this Space Hulk is called the Gallowdark. And in this Space Hulk, we've done some awesome teams like Adeptus Arbites, a new Kroot kill team, and then we've even got like Cadian Special Forces. There's been some really neat stuff, so how are they going to wrap up this Into the Dark season? As far as the lore of the set, I think the Gallowfall will basically be the destruction of the Gallowdark. So it'd be really cool if it was falling into like a warp storm or going towards the sun. So honestly, the individual pieces we've seen of the Gallowdark haven't looked that different from each other. They all look kind of samey, so I'm hoping we have some more individuality here, just because it's in its last days, so it'd be cool to see it more destroyed and tattered looking. Like, close enough where you can still miss and match, but different enough where it doesn't feel like you're buying the same set over again. I know that's been one of the major complaints with this season, so hopefully they kind of address that here towards the end. But the lore of what's happening isn't what most people care about. What most people care about will be what kill teams are going to be in this set. So what I think GW should do should be obvious since it is set on a Space Hulk, and that will be Terminators against Gene Stealers. It's just the basic Space Hulk matchup. Because right now there's no Terminator team. If you have Terminators, you cannot play them in Kill Team. And the Gene Stealers are still just part of the High Fleet team, which that's a decent team as far as compendium teams go, but they don't really have a lot of personality to them. Like, in lore, the Gene Stealers are the stealthy infiltrators of the High Fleet. Them are lifters, which actually wouldn't be a bad alternative. And the Terminators are just entirely missing. So I know there's an argument that the more elite teams shouldn't be added, because they kind of mess up the flow in the game. Kill Team is supposed to be a little more realistic than a standard game of Warhammer 40,000, where if you get shot, there's a decent chance your model is going to be injured or removed from the board. Like, you want fairly squishy models. That way, your positioning and using cover really, really matters, and you don't just have like a walking tank. And a lot of people are worried that that's what Terminators would basically be. Which I think is a totally fair argument. I completely see where people that say that are coming from, and I do agree if it's not done well, but I think it can be. Because in this game, we have Custodians and Imperial Guard. So Custodians, which are closer to Primarchs than they are humans, are in the same game as Imperial Guard, who are just kind of random dudes that are military trained with las guns. So if you can have those two in the same game, I think you can have matches where something like a Tyranid Warrior is fighting a Terminator, and it still makes sense lore-wise. So the thing with Terminators, they're a little slower, but they're a lot tankier. And I think there are ways you can do this, even though it is fairly difficult to balance. Not that this is a homebrew video, but I have seen other people do homebrews where they'll do something like the Terminators will have the defense stat of whatever the opponent's attack number is. So if they're rolling 5 dice on a shooting attack, the Terminator gets 5 defense dice. So I haven't really play tested that. I don't know how well it works, but I have seen a lot of interesting ideas. And I'm sure GW could come up with something to make Terminators work. Like, my group of friends got into Kill Team towards the end of the 2018 edition. So a lot of us have stuff like Terminator teams that we can't run right now. So I would like to see those added in at some point. So, even though that's my top choice, there are some other teams I would like to see. Another one would either be World Eaters or Leads of Voltan, because both of those are fairly new fashions in a 40k, and neither one is represented in Kill Team right now. So both of those armies, because they're so new, have a pretty limited model line. So I think giving them new kill teams means that the actual people that play 40k can now test out Kill Team if that's their only army, like if they're pretty new into 40k. And it gives the 40k players new miniatures they can actually use, because they'll have the specialists from Kill Team. And I think they would both just make awesome kill teams. They're both fairly infantry based, so that should fit right in. And the final matchup I want to talk about in this video will be Grey Knights and Demons. Grey Knights were one of the more interesting compendium teams, where they were basically Space Marines, but they have the Psyker powers. And most of the Space Marine teams were fairly boring on launch. But now we have so many other teams that just basically being Space Marines and having a buffing Psyker ability isn't enough to really make you stand out. I think giving them some specialists where each one is a Psyker and giving them different options to take where the different types of Grey Knights have access to different Psyker abilities is all it would really take to make them go from pretty vanilla to being really interesting. And I've done a whole video that I'll link here and at the end of this video over Chaos Demons, but I think how they should be done is every Chaos God has their own kill team. So there's a Nurgle Demon kill team, there's a Slaanesh Demon kill team. They're all separate. So for this set, obviously there's not going to be 4 Demon kill teams in there, there's just going to be 1. But give us something like Khorne or Nurgle, and then have rules for the other ones. How I would like to see it done is, let's say there's a Nurgle team in this set. Well, GW would also do a free PDF online giving you the rules for the other teams. And I know GW doesn't like the word free, so at least put in White Dwarf or something. That way Wahapedia will have it in like a month later, so free eventually. So these are my hopes for what Gallowfall will be. Let me know what you'd like to see down in the comments. I'm normally pretty bad at predicting this stuff, honestly. I almost never get it right. But it's still fun to theorycraft, so thank you for watching.